Hey everyone, welcome to the Doc Life Mastery Podcast. I'm Joe Klemczewski with Dr. Kori Propst. And Kori, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and we've talked about this a little bit, but it was presenting some research showing that positive thinking and just, hey, you can do it, is almost research shows this, setting people up to fail, when a better approach is more of the Stoic philosophy that, look, man, in the Buddhist philosophy, life is suffering, life sucks. Like you better expect to eat a lot of dirt. and if that's your mindset, like, you actually have tangibly different outcomes. So you're a health psychologist, cognitive behavioral therapist. Who's right?
Well, I would say, Joe, and we know this from research too, that the happiest people on the planet are the ones who experience the full range of emotion, including the unpleasant, uncomfortable ones. So yes, when it comes to positive thinking and Pollyanna-ish thinking, and just when we notice that something uncomfortable is there, trying to like cover it up or sweep it under the rug with some sort of everything will be fine, it's good, life is good, may I be happy, that doesn't actually work in terms of helping us to have a sense of agency or even confidence. So I'm working with a woman right now who she very, very much recognizes the jarring and critical voice inside of her head, the self-critic that is there within her, and who just will constantly level judging and blaming comments at her. She came back from the holidays, and she'd gained a few pounds, didn't expect to, hadn't been weighing herself regularly, but had approached the holidays like, my goal is to not gain any weight. If anything, I'm just going to maintain. And then she stood on the scale and was a few pounds heavier. And it was just like, wham! You stupid. Why did you think that you could do that? What is wrong with you? Like, oh. And typically when that happens, our bodies become very rigid. They become tight and restricted. When that occurs, there's a sense of threat there. It becomes very fearful. If you kind of wide angle lens out and you imagine like you and I having a conversation, I'm her, you're the coach. And I come to you and I'm like, so I came back from the holidays, Joe, and I gained weight. And you were like, what'd you do wrong? What stupid actions did you take while you were away? Were you not being thoughtful at all? And you approached me like that, there's going to be a similar reaction, whether it's coming from our minds or it's coming from someone else. It's very threatening. So she notices that in the moment, and she's explaining to me what happened. And she's like, so I noticed this and I felt myself like get really hot and tight and just clammy. And I started telling myself like, you're strong, you're capable, you can handle this, you're doing just fine. And she went throughout her day and just kept repeating those sorts of things to herself. But she said, when I went to bed, it all unraveled. All of a sudden now I was like, you don't believe any of that shit. Why were you like, so it came back, right? Came right back at her. So she was literally trying to counter the threats and the criticisms with these affirmations. And what we're doing in situations like that is we're just kind of reinforcing what we were already doing. In that moment, she doesn't want to feel what she's feeling. It's really uncomfortable, right? It's very unpleasant. And so then she adds another sort of uncover or like covering up mechanism on top of it. Is this making sense?
No, there are so many directions my brain wants to go right now with
Yeah.
how we self-delude ourselves, and we actually look for delusions because in the moment we do feel better. Like I'm sure
In
she
that
did.
split second.
I'm sure she
Yes.
did acutely feel better when she's saying to herself, like, you can do it, you're strong. But
Some level of relief there.
on the other side of your brain is still the objective knowledge that you
Yeah.
still have a mess to clean up, and
Yep.
you still did not behave in a way that aligned with your goals, or you put yourself back a couple steps. Even if you frame it very objectively and non-critically, your brain still has that, and you just covering it up with a nice soft blanket doesn't make it go away.
Exactly.
So, you you remind me of one of my clients who said just the other day, like, we had the same conversation, and he said, I just love your positivity. You are always so positive. And the funny thing is, I didn't just make her feel warm and cozy.
Yeah.
I said, well, that's pretty normal. We just went through the holidays. Everybody kind of experiences this and this and this. And there are a lot of ways to be unobjective, but now here's what we can do to get back on track and do this, this, and this. So I didn't ignore the reality.
Right.
I just said, here's how we need to address the new reality. I still think you're strong and you can do it. I'm not going to call you names and tell you that you're stupid. So there wasn't a lot of positivity. It's just that she felt positive in that we were now still addressing reality.
Well, that's it right there. You're addressing reality, but you're affirming her as a human with things to work out, right? Pema Chodron, who is a Buddhist nun, has a great quote about affirmations. She says, affirmations are like screaming that you're okay in order to overcome this whisper or scream, in this woman's case, that you're not. Like, maybe you're not okay. Most of us are not okay at various times and places and, junctures of our lives. We're not okay. And most of the time we're not okay somewhere, but we're also fine at the same time. This is the weird paradox of life. But so, what she's saying is that affirmations perpetuate the reluctance or the aversion to soften what's there. My client was feeling a little bit ashamed. She was feeling discouraged. And if she were to like take her seat with that and give herself permission to feel what's underneath that, instead of trying to cover it up with these other sorts of quotes to immediately make herself feel good, she would have gotten a lot further. Can I tell a story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So this is a personal story. I have so many just Ben and Kori stories that are perfect for this sort of thing.
The cadre is growing.
So the other evening, Ben was up in his office and I was downstairs. I was making myself something to eat, and I finished making my meal and I ran upstairs, and I was like, baby, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm watching this dirt bike video of a race that I'm interested in riding in. And I pulled up a chair next to him, and I'm kind of like somewhat behind him, and I'm eating my meal and we're watching the video, and he probably within 3 or 4 minutes, he turns around and he puts his hands on my shoulders and he leans in, and I'm like, what is happening here? Like this, I didn't say that out loud, but it was in my head. What's happening here? He goes, baby, as soon as you're done with your meal, you can come back up here and watch the movie with me. And I'm like as he's talking, I'm like recoiling. And literally, Joe, I felt like my heart was in a vice. Like my chest hurt. Like I was emotionally wounded in that moment. And all I wanted to do was get out of there. Like, little Kori had this moment of shamefulness. You can't even chew your food. So I'm headed downstairs and Ben is like, baby, I love it when you're up here with me. And I'm like, gone.
Not chewing in my ear.
Yes. Yes. So I'm like, okay. I'm going through this internal process of breathe. You're okay. I'm not throwing like, you're so awesome and those sorts of affirmations
you're
at
strong,
myself.
Kori, you can do it.
Like, I love my man. Like, we're so cool together. No, there was none of that. But I sat down at the table and I was like, I'm not hungry anymore. I'm breathing and like, I'm hot telling the story right now. This is how I felt then. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I need some perspective here. Like, I'm not trying to push away the feelings at all. Like, this is here. I'm not going to run from it. What is this? This is super interesting. And in my mind, I'm going back and forth between, so what, I literally, you came into the picture in my mind. I said, what would, if Joe were sitting in that chair and Ben did that, what would he do? If my mom were sitting in that chair, what?
WWJD. What would Joe do?
If my mom were, what would she have done? If my sister was, if Brittany was, I'm going through a list of people, like, how would they have reacted? Because there would have been a zillion other reactions than the one that I had. So why was the one that I had, like, it's what I was believing to be true, which was, you can't even freaking chew your food, Kori. You can't chew, you can't type. And then it was, Ben is very sensitive to noise. And, I'm gaining some perspective here. Like, I put on a different pair of glasses. The lens is widening. Like, it's more vast than just this one, like, you're a stupid person. And so if I had chosen in that moment to just use those affirmations, like, life is good, everything's fine, whatever they are, I don't know what affirmations people use these days, but it would have completely taken me out of the ability to be with the experience and gain a level of perspective from it. And because I learned a lot about myself in that moment, like how easily I can take things personally and be hurt by seemingly inconsequential actions. Just the very act of him putting his hands on my shoulders and leaning in and calling me baby. And then as I went down the stairs saying, I love it when you're up here with me, tells me that he loves me, that I'm not unimportant to him, which is what was going on in my head. Like, we're doomed to failure.
But if you had just ignored all of that and just said, positive affirmations to yourself, then it literally just allows all of that stuff to stay there with no growth, no self-awareness.
Exactly. Yes, that's it.
It's like sitting in a burning building, just saying, "Hey, we'll be okay. We'll be okay.
We'll be fine."
While somebody else is over there McGuiring like how to get out.
Yeah.
Like that's.
Yeah. Yes, that's it. So this caveat here. This is in no way me saying, I'll speak for myself, Joe. I don't think that affirmations are completely useless. I think they can be very powerful and have utility in certain contexts. And if they're well thought out, I use what are called in Buddhist philosophy. Have you heard the term lojong? So these are they're phrases, they're teachings, and I could look at them as affirmations because they're affirming the sitting with the painful. Like you said, life is painful. They affirm for me that whatever happens in my life is a teacher for me. But if I push it away, I risk not learning. So there are these lojongs, there are these 59 different sayings that I can wake up each day and pick one, sit with it for a couple minutes and just allow it to be there for me throughout my day in the hopes of, and that's affirmational, right? In the hopes of learning something. So.
Well, what you just described though, and it was a perfect illustration, is you're still positive, but now you're positive because you handled a situation more effectively with a wider perspective. Instead of covering it up with positivity. You did the work first. You were aware of what was happening. And that's the difference. I mean, that's truly where people need to be able to, as you always say, be comfortable in your discomfort, be comfortable with that wide range of emotion.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's end it there, because that was a perfect illustration. And tell Ben I said hi. Always
Okay,
good to hear that. Because it gives me strength when he can throw you out of his office and survive. I feel like I can. So now, like, Ben and I against Kori.
Yeah. I'm gonna have a chat with him.
All right. Yeah. Ben, stay away from Joe. All right, guys. Well, thanks again, as always, for watching, listening to the Life Mastery Podcast. We will catch you again with another great topic with Dr. Kori.
Thanks, guys.